Kakeru Ryuuen is probably one of my favorite antagonists of Classroom the Elite. Ever since he made an appearance on the series, I already realized that this guy was going to have a lot of interesting things happening because of Ryuuen. And I'm pretty sure Ryuuen as a whole has this kind of personality, whereas he has an ego and he's not really a great person. He's kind of a, douchebag, but he is very smart. Like, based on what he has done throughout the series, this guy is very smart. There's no denying it. Despite his attitude or whatever, he is a very smart individual, and this is probably one of the antagonists of Classroom the Elite that has shown what he is capable of doing. Like, this guy is capable of doing anything in order to win. I know there's other antagonists in this series like Sakenagi. Don't get me wrong, Sakenagi is also good. I like how she acts and I like her, personality of acting all innocent, but in reality she's not. She clearly has ulterior motives as well. There's also Nagumo, who was introduced later on in the series, and he also has potential of being a good antagonist on the series. But overall, I think Ryuuen as a whole, from the introduction in the earlier series all the way till now, it's very clear that you shouldn't take Ryuuen lightly. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's not dumb. He clearly is always coming up with plans to take down the other classes that aren't his. And not to mention that he's kind of a dictator in his classroom. Like, he is literally, in the beginning of the series, the dictator of the class. Everyone listens to what he has to say. He makes up the decisions. He does all the commands, and no one really stops him. Like, that's like one thing you should realize, is that no one has stopped Ryuuen. Not even his own classmates have stopped Ryuuen from doing whatever he wants. And that's like the scary thing, because that clearly shows you that Ryuuen has power and is able to control people just like that, and there's nobody to stop him. His classmates don't want to stop him because he's that menacing and they don't want to get hurt by him. And it's just insane. Like, this character from the beginning has already shown us what he is capable of. He's capable of taking over his own classroom just like that. Not a lot of people can do that, but Ryuuen clearly shows that he is capable of doing that. Another thing you also see about Ryuuen that makes him a good antagonist is how early on he starts already trying to take down the other classes. Like, in volume 2, Ryuuen tries to get one of class D classmates, Pseudo, and he does this by getting some people from class C to pick a fight with him and act like as if he was the one who initiated and he was the one who started the whole fight. And already there, that should just show you that Ryuen's plans to take down the other classes that aren't class C are already in motion. Like, he didn't take a really long time to set up his plan. No, as soon as he was enrolled into school and he was already taking classes, he was already coming up with plans to take down the other classrooms, and class D was the first one he was planning on taking down. However, his plan didn't work out and Pseudo ended up not being expelled from school, but that didn't stop Ryuuen from coming up with other plans to take down class D. Another moment that showed just how good Ryuuen was as a character and as an antagonist was in volume 4, when Ryuuen lost the special exam in the island test arc. He realized that there was somebody in class D that was pulling the strings, which really just comes to show you that Ryuuen was very quick to realize there was somebody else in class D that was pulling the strings. He realized that somebody could not have come up with a plan to counter him without being very smart. So already Ryuuen was very clearly focusing on class D even more now. Originally he was just considering taking them down, but now it seemed that he had a new goal, and that was to find the mastermind of class D. This just shows you the determination Ryuuen has. If he has something that he wants to find out, he is going to find out. And this is very much a clear case of Ryuuen looking around to see who could be the mastermind of class D. And he does this in later volumes, like volumes 5 and 6. He tries to find ways into which he could narrow the suspects as to who is the class D's mastermind. And it all pays off in volume 7. Volume 7 of Classroom the Elite is probably one of the best volumes of the series, just of what happens in it. Not only do we see how capable Ryuuen is of trying to get people to talk, but just how messed up his tactics are to get people to talk. Like, the things he does, and I'm going to talk about them, the things he does to get info about the mastermind of class D is insane. So in volume 7, Ryuuen already found out that Kakeru has contact with the mastermind of class D. He realizes that he could use her to get that info as to who the mastermind of class D is, or as he refers to as X. The person that is running class D would be revealed if he gets her to talk. First thing he does is he messages her, telling her to come to the rooftop, and to be alone. He gets her to come to the rooftop by threatening to tell everybody at school of her past experience with being bullied. Now, I'm not gonna go into too much detail about Kei Karuizawa's past because I may make another video talking about Kei Karuizawa as a character because she's a good character in this series, but just know that Kei Karuizawa has a past in which she was bullied a whole lot in junior high, to the point where she was traumatized by it. That's how bad the bullying was, where she was so traumatized by the whole bullying. And Ryuuen uses that as a way to get her to talk. Literally, Ryuuen uses trauma to get Kei to talk. If that's not something so messed up to be doing to someone, then I don't know what is. But one of the things he does is by pouring water on her. Now, it may not seem like a big deal to some people, like, okay, she got sprayed with water, but if you have read the series, you will know that people throwing water at Kei was one of the bullying methods that these bullies did to her in junior high. They would throw water at her, and yeah, it's a pretty messed up thing to be doing to someone who's already experienced that and is traumatized because of it. But Ryuuen doesn't really care. As long as he gets the info he wants, he continues to pour water on her to see if she at that point has reached her, breaking point and says who X is. Of course, this doesn't happen and Kei refuses to say who X is, which makes Ryuuen unhappy and continues to do what he is doing. Eventually, Ayanokoji comes up on the rooftop and destroys Ryuuen. Like, literally, there's no exaggeration. He literally destroys Ryuuen. He beats him up to a pulp, and as a result, Ryuuen is defeated. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, okay, Ryuuen is defeated, he has clearly shown what he's capable of, and that's pretty much the finale of Ryuuen, right? He's no longer going to be the antagonist of the series. He's probably going to lay low because of his defeat. If you thought that was the case, you're wrong, because he does come back eventually in volume 11. Volumes 9 and 10, yeah, he does lay low. He's not really shown a whole lot anymore. There's no interaction with him a lot, but in volume 11, he just comes back and starts to do what he originally does and tries to take down the classes. And he did this with Class B when they were doing their special test, their final special test as first year students. Ryuuen comes up with a plan to take down Class B in this special test, and he does it by coming up with a plan that involves laxative. That was his plan. The reason why Class B lost in that special test exam was because their classmates kept going to the bathroom, so of course there wasn't anybody to do the test. So the reason why that happened was because Ryuuen came up with a plan to give them laxative, which, I mean, it's a very bold move to do, and even his inner group says how this could get him expelled, but he doesn't care. If that doesn't show you the risks he's willing to take, then I don't know what is. The fact that he used laxative on students and didn't care if he got expelled. Now, granted, after him fighting Ayanokoji and having pretty much an utter defeat with Ayanokoji, it seemed that he got given up. He stepped down as Class C's leader, meaning he no longer wanted to be the leader of Class C. And it did seem that he just wasn't going to try to do anything else. But despite his behavior and attitude towards people, there were members of Class C that wanted Ryuuen back. They wanted him to lead the way again because they knew that Ryuuen was smart. He wasn't an idiot. He could do things that other people couldn't. And that's what I love about Ryuuen, is the fact that, despite his attitude and just the way he treats people, it's very clear that this guy can get things done. And if he is willing to do something, he is going to do it. And it doesn't matter to him if it breaks school rules. He will do it no matter what. As long as he wins and as long as he gets what he wants, he is willing to do it. And I think that's what some people see in him. Even the people that get mistreated by him realize that he is somebody that can get things done if he wants to. And that's just many of the reasons why Ryuuen is a good antagonist. Just his attitude and the way he approaches things really gives you a clear idea of what kind of person Ryuuen is. He's a person who is willing to do anything to win. He's a person who doesn't matter if school rules are being broken. He will break them as long as he gets the win. And just how he's determined to take over the class, it just really shows you how determined he is to do what he wants, to get the results he wants. And I'm very excited to see what season 2 of Classroom Elite does with Ryuuen. I'm very excited to see how all his plans play out in the anime, because it's going to be very exciting to see Ryuuen in the anime, because the things he does in the light novels are just crazy and really just shows you how much of an antagonist he is in the series, and why I think he's a good antagonist and why he's a good rival for Ayanokoji, because this guy is somebody you should take seriously because he is not playing. And yeah, that's pretty much the entire video. I'll see you next time.